It is Trail Talk, back once again for another week. I'm your host, Aaron Shimmons.
And I'm Ricki Wynne.
Thanks for joining us. I know we're sideways, which is a little bit different, but we decided to do it this way because we're sitting on a sofa and it just felt maybe like it might be more natural, because if you can't stick around on Instagram, this gets republished on YouTube and Spotify, and they like the landscape. Seeing people jumping in, we're able to still check the chat via the laptop, which is here. So good to see everyone rolling in. Ricki, we're in Newcastle.
Yeah.
It's Trail Talk Meetup in Mourne this past weekend, just yesterday. We ran again today. Great crack.
Great crack. I'm in a house in the Mournes with the king of the Mournes. Super weekend. Lots to talk about, lots to go over. Yeah, super weekend. What can I say? We brought the fun, I think, this weekend. You know, there was a great group at the Trail Talk Meetup.
30, maybe 32, 33 runners.
Yeah.
Across short and long distance, mostly doing the longies, which was good. A good selection of abilities. Some absolute weapons turned up.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're a weapon. Maybe you attracted some of those guys, but all abilities there. But we kind of all stuck together for the most part with great grouping and a couple of points. And then look, let's tackle this early, because everyone that's tuning in probably knows. They may have seen it on Instagram. If they haven't, go to Ricki's Instagram to check it out. But have you got a little award over there?
I have a little trophy here.
I'm sitting beside Irish Trail Runner of the Year 2025 from Trail Running Ireland. So congratulations. You were well surprised. Talk about that.
That was so cool. So you had Shawnee and Alicia, who are part of Trail Running Ireland's Instagram page, and they do a lot for the community. They were at the top. They were at the saddle just before you summit for Donard, for Sleeve Donard, and like it was howling rain and wind and freezing cold, and like I hadn't a clue. You were trying to hold me back from getting up to the shoulder, and I was like, man, will you just come on? What are you doing? I thought he was like holding me back to get a picture for Instagram or for social media or for something. I was like, what is the hold up? Why are we doing this? And then all of a sudden, I'm surprised by Shawnee giving me this trophy and a big massive picture frame with Ricki Wynne and Trail Run of the Year. I don't know where I'm going to put that picture frame. It's massive. It's bigger than my TV. But it was a huge surprise.
I can't believe that you didn't realise it was going to happen, because I kept, like, you were up ahead and I would like, Ricki. And then you'd kind of turn around and come back down a little bit. I wasn't far behind you.
Yeah.
Like, this was on the run up to Donard. So we're climbing up, probably like a 500-meter climb over a couple of kilometers. And I was trucking away, trying to get up there. The group was sort of expanding a little bit, trying to keep it together. And I thought, if I get Ricki back to me, it'll slow down the group in front of him, because we need to get to the call together, because that's where Shawnee's going to be there to surprise you.
Yeah.
So it sort of worked out. Like,
I hadn't a clue. Not a clue. Like, that was a massive surprise. Like, I mean, genuinely not a clue. Like, because I totally forgot. Because I knew that they were announcing the awards on Monday, which is today. So I wasn't expecting to hear anything about anything until today. So that's why, like, I was thrown completely off guard. And even though Alicia was there at the top of the wall, I just looked at her and went, oh, hey, Alicia, what are you doing here? Thinking, sure, maybe she's just joining the group run, you know? You're looking at somebody who's a good runner, not the smartest tool in the box, you know? But look, I'm delighted that we did it there. Like, you know, I just thought that's the best place to do it. You know, there's 30, 35 people there to, like, give you a little clap and a pat on the back. And it was just a great start to the day, like, because we still had plenty of miles to run. We still had to go and summit Donard, and then the real run started. Like, so
I think we're about 9. We're less than 10k in.
Yeah, exactly. So it set it up, like, and look, I was buzzing from then on. Put me in great form for the day. You know, this class.
And I think it's worth also mentioning, not the only award winner in the group.
Yeah.
Ronan Sharkey, inspirational trail runner of the year, again from Trail Running Ireland. And Ronan's story's amazing. There's a load of podcasts out about him. Check out, like, I'm sure if you search wherever, whatever socials you use or Google, you'll find him and hear about his story. So big shout out to Ronan.
And no doubt he's in the chat. I'm guessing. I just can't see the screen. It's pretty small and there's a bright light in our face. But Ronan, huge kudos to you, man. Massive respect. What you do for the community is amazing as well. So give yourself a massive pat on the back as well. Class.
Yeah. And anyone that's in the chat right now on Instagram, let us know, is it weird that we're in landscape mode? We haven't had anyone mention it in the chat. It's like the thing that, it's like people should have mentioned it by now. Like, is it okay? Should we do it in this format again? We're hoping that whenever it gets republished to Spotify and YouTube, it'll look a bit more not natural or better.
I think it's for me sitting here right now. I feel more comfortable sitting on a couch with you, where I can see both of us on the screen, and it just feels more natural. And also, like, I watch YouTube in my van at work every day, and I'm holding the phone landscape, so it makes sense to me. Like,
and last time we did a live in Newcastle in Mourne Mountains, we were on this very sofa in this house, and we had the phone on vertical, and you kind of have to like shove up together, and like there's no space to move. But so we hope that it works out. All right. Yes, Ronan's in the chat. Good man, Ronan. Right. Next part of the show, we got to mention we just had the Mourne meetup yesterday. The next meetup is 29th of May in Cuvée in Switzerland. It's a Swiss Canyon Trail, races from 16 to 111. There are, I'm going to say, touching on 40 Trail Talk community members participating in the event, which is going to be amazing. Yeah. You're running the 111K, as is Ulrich, who's a previous podium finisher at Swiss Canyon Trail. And that's going to be great crack.
Yeah. Like we were only talking about, we went for dinner earlier on. We went for a run, then we went for dinner after. And we were chatting about this and like how this all came about, how this started. When we announced that we were going to be doing a Trail Talk meetup at Swiss Canyons, it was like, is anyone going to show up? There's a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of nerves about it. And man, did they show up? 40 people registered, incredible. So like, we're taking over Switzerland, lads. We're taking over. So that's going to be deadly. Can't wait for that. Also, shout out to Ulrich, because Ulrich, just to let you know, I am going to be hanging out of your ear in this race if I can, because you know the way. I get lost very easily. So I'm looking forward to following someone that knows where they're going,
Yeah, I think that's a good plan. More announcements to come on Swiss Canyon Trail in the coming weeks as we start to move into that training block kind of from this month, February, March, April, May. We're starting to transition towards that. We've got some special cool things that we're going to be talking about in the training segment, and also some guests as well on the podcast, so stick around for that. Next up, I wanted to touch on one of the things that's come up this week in the news. So Jim Walmsley was quoted in a PTRA article as saying, "I don't think elites at Western States should have pacers. Nobody competitive there needs them." Followed on by saying, "Also, golden ticket races should forbid pacers for ticket positions. Black Canyon 100K, which is in 2 weeks. Pacing is embarrassing to allow." Strong statement by Jim.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
Embarrassing to allow is strong, isn't it? It's very strong. Like, to say embarrassing, it's harsh. But I get where he's coming from, and I'll say 2 things about it. I'll say a couple of things about it, maybe 3 things about it. It's like, how does it sit with me? In canyons, definitely not. Should not be allowed. No way, because it's a qualifying race. It's man versus man to get a spot at Western States. Golden ticket race, very, very prestigious award to get and go straight into that race. So I don't think that there should be no way, there should be no sort of like way that you can get an extra benefit from qualifying for that race. Western States, a little bit of a different feel I have for that, because I think it goes...
We might be biased.
Yeah, we're biased because you paced me, and to me that was one of the best things about that race, and it sort of belongs in the history and the heritage of that race. But Jim wasn't saying anything about, like, we'd say, the non-elites or the middle of the pack or the back of the pack having pacers. It was the elites he was talking about. And I'll counter that with, but your marathon run, I know they're not personal pacers for every runner at the front, but a marathon runner has pacers so that they can try and go for the course record on whatever course they're running on. So it's not like it's not done at a professional level. So it is done in road racing. So why not do it at a race like Western States where people are trying to break course records?
Yeah. Let us know in the chat or in the comments what you think, if pacers are a good or a bad thing. Would you do away with them at Black Canyon or Western States? I think personally, like with Black Canyon 100k, it's a super fast race. It's all run in daylight. It's not a mountain course. Like, it doesn't feel like even a back of the packer. I can't see there's no real safety need or concern for having them at that course. That seems like it's maybe just there because it's there everywhere else, so they'll just continue. Why would we not have it?
Yeah.
But then with Western States, it's a 100-mile race. Some people will be out there for 30 hours.
Yeah.
Even we ran in the dark as well. And, so the longer races, I can see the case. What are the thoughts on policing, or how do they enforce a rule? Because you are a pro, so you wouldn't have been allowed a pacer if they said no, pros can't have pacers. How do they distinguish who's a pro if there's no professional license?
Yeah, but I don't want to steal what you said, but what you said to me earlier, and I want you to say it because it's you that said it to me, and it made total sense to me. You kind of compared it to the way that triathlon is done. Like how did you say that? It was like the professional card or the...
Yeah, well, if you're a pro triathlete, you have a pro card. It's like a license. So that's an easy way to distinguish a pro from an amateur. We don't have that in trail running.
Yeah.
But it would be an easy way to say, if you carry this, you're in wave 1.
Yeah.
You are not allowed a pacer. Your crew can
Yeah.
only be 2 people. And that keeps the racing very fair,
Yeah.
across the board for all of the pros. Instead of, let's use an example.
Yeah.
I haven't said this example to you, but I did speak to somebody else about this last week. Myself and Chris were crewing you at States, and Emily Hoggood, who you ran a lot of it with, had the Terex team.
Yeah.
And you, in my opinion, could have spent longer at aid stations to get what you needed, but you wanted to rush out and still run with Emily because that was just great. And there was a lot of enjoyment running with her.
Yeah.
But she was getting everything done that she needed to do and wasn't rushing out. You were rushing out thinking, no, I don't need that, no, I don't need that. I gotta go.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but that's racing too. I suppose that's me just wanting to kind of to be honest, I was using Emily as a pacer, if you think of it that way, So I'm using her as a pacer. She's got another pacer coming to meet her at Forest Hill, So I'm doing it no different than using her as a pacer. And elites could do that as well. Like, they'd be using each other. You don't need a pacer. Like technically you don't need a pacer. The issue I have is, let's say the likes of Killian Jornet doesn't have a pacer, and then somebody else has a pacer. There's a bit of an issue. So one rule for one and one for the other,
And that is exactly the case.
Yeah.
Because Killian didn't use a pacer.
Yeah.
And others who he was competing with had pacers.
Yeah, and then you will always have somebody then in the chat that will say, oh, well, Killian didn't have a pacer, And I'm like, yeah, I know, but he could have if he wanted. That's his own fault for not wanting a pacer. But then Killian might turn around and say, yeah, but nobody should be allowed pacers. And it should be like man versus man, woman versus woman, whatever, mano a mano, as they say, and it'd be a real race. And I don't disagree with that either, especially at the front where it's a race, right? In the middle, at the back, I can see it, safety, heritage, and just like the fact that I thought it was class for us, because I'm being selfish now, because one of the best things about Western States was the last 35k, 40k with you. that was unbelievable that the both of us, okay, it's me racing, but you got to spend 40k at Western States. You know, the only difference is you don't end up with a buckle, but you end up with a memory of running on Western States, and you know you can't buy that. Like,
I got to cross the river.
yeah,
I got to run through the aid stations. I got to run through Hal Kerner's aid station at night with all of the fancy dress people. We got to pass Adam Peterman
Yeah.
on course.
yeah,
We passed several other pro runners on course. It was unbelievable.
there you go. Like,
That was a once in a lifetime opportunity.
yeah, so I suppose what we're kind of saying is there's a place for both sides of that conversation. You know, there's a place for pacers, and then there's a time for no pacers. You know, and that is for the organisers to say, well, if you're in it to win it, and I get it, I've done obstacle course racing, right, where if you, and I've done races like, especially when COVID was happening. For an example, I was doing a race in Mayo in the west of Ireland, and it was just after COVID, and they were just releasing the race in small waves because of the distance and whatever, groups of people gathering. And the way they were doing it was they were putting me in wave 1, somebody else in wave 2, and wave 3. But all of us actually like wanted to win the race. So we went back to the organisers and we said, like, we want to race each other. So find out if you can, and if you can do this, I think it'd be really good if you could accommodate this, that anyone that wants to run to win is in wave 1, and then go wave 2, wave 3. And it worked out that way. It was perfect. That way you're getting the elites at the front that are there to try and race for the win, for the prize money, whatever. And then that's just fair all across the board, I think, you know.
I think that's a great kind of segue into one of the other things that's in the back of my head, and that was at last weekend's Arc of Attrition. 2 women in the Arc 12-mile race in the second wave ran on to the overall podium.
Yeah.
And it's actually, it's a thing in UTMB races that you can do that. Obviously, thinking about Stephanie Case last year, did she win? Did she win, or she was second? She was right at the very front of the UTS 100k.
Yeah.
From the second wave.
Yeah.
But I also want to throw out there, and we would love to hear what you guys think in the comments on Instagram or in the comments on Spotify or YouTube. Like, in the 100k or 100-mile distance, you're running for so long, you're experiencing a lot of daylight and darkness. For those women in the Arc 12, the first wave, they started in the dark. They started with head torches. The next wave, where these 2 women ran quicker, 1, they started in daylight. 2, they're time trial in the course.
Yeah.
In daylight.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Because, like you said, if they were at, like, for someone that was, for 2 athletes were on the 100k, if they were running 100k at different times, one in wave 1, one in wave 2, they're running the same course, and more than likely they're going through the same amount of hours in darkness and the same amount of hours in brightness. They're using a head torch. It's very similar in comparison, right? Whereas in what you're trying to say is those women in that shorter race, it's totally unfair because now it's 2 completely different races. Like, one race is starting in the dark. If I'm running a head torch at night time on trails that I'm not sure of, I am definitely not running as fast as I could if I could see where I was going. So that is, to me, that's totally unfair, you know. And it's not the lady's fault that was starting in wave 2. You know, it's not her fault. She was put there. She was told.
2 women.
Yeah, 2. They were put there, so it's not their fault. That's, I don't know, like, and again, that's, you're put in there because of a runner's index, and you could, oh man, this could be a segue into something else. But I mean, that's the problem with the runner's index. The runner's index is just a number, you know, and they don't know anything about you, only that that's your number. And because of that number, they don't know if you're good or bad. They just know that you've done a couple of races and that's where you're going. You're going on wave 2 because your index isn't as high as somebody is in wave 1.
Which just means that they haven't been doing UTMB index races.
Yeah, exactly.
Most likely.
Yeah, so they're just put in that wave. That's the wave they're allocated to. Like, so that's not their fault at all. That's a fault of the way the system works and how the organisers use that system.
Question in the chat: what is more important to have, a pacer or no pacer? is it important or not? Why and why not? I mean, I think we've maybe already covered that. Like, if I were to add anything, I think maybe a pacer, a pacer, I can see it's being more useful the longer and more arduous the challenge, maybe the more remote the challenge. Like some of these races in the US, there's no cell service in the out on the trails, out in the mountains. So to have someone else there could be very useful.
Yeah.
Also, if I think about like Australia, you know, there's also no service in the kind of the backcountry or in the outback, I should say. And like if you got bit by a snake, you put a snake bandage on and you stay stationary.
Yeah.
But you've then no way of getting help. So at least if you stay stationary with the snake bandage on, your pacer can backtrack to an aid station, can move forward to an aid station, and get help that way. So there's definitely extra safety there.
Yeah.
But that falls by the wayside when you think about, uh, you know, a super fast 100K in the desert.
Yeah. Yeah. But also decision making as well. Like if you're on your own, it's up to you, right? It's like in snooker or pool or anything like that. In those sports, there's no coaching allowed, you know? You've often been playing a game of pool against your mate and somebody else, another mate, decides to chime in and give a bit of advice and it's like no coaching, you know, and it's the same in tennis. There's no coaching. The coaches aren't allowed to say anything from the box. They're not allowed. But if you're running with somebody, they're allowed to tell you, hey, like an Emily was doing it with me. She would say, Ricki, did you take a gel?
That's right.
You know, Ricki, are you drinking your water? Are you drinking your electrolytes? She was saying that to me. And technically she was like coaching me, making sure that I was staying on top. But a pacer would be doing that for their runner all day long. Whereas if a runner's out there on his own, fending for himself, he may forget and make mistakes. And those mistakes lose races. And that's what's cool about the sport, that the best of the best can get a bit confused, can get a bit disorientated and make those mistakes. And that's what's cool about the sport of ultra running.
Yeah, that's a great reminder about Emily telling you that. Have you drank your water, Ricky?
Yeah,
Have you had a gel, Ricky?
That's so funny. She's like a mum, I'm telling you. She's brilliant.
That was Western States Trail Mom.
Yeah.
Josh in the chat, Ultra Pacer adds 15% or more for night running versus day running. So there's a simple metric. Like if you're 15% slower for the first part of that race when it's in the dark, there's your overhead.
Who came in with that fact? Josh.
Josh,
Yeah, of course. Josh, yeah. Nice one, Josh.
You'd think Josh was actually had an affiliation with Ultra Pacer,
Yeah.
or he's angling for one.
Yeah.
He loves it.
But he knows his stuff. I give it to him. That's a great stat. Like that is a great stat, and that is the difference. Like that's where, that's the difference. Where fair and unfair. That's a blind man could see that difference.
Yeah. All right. Let's jump in. I think to some of the training. Do you have your stats?
I have a fair idea of them.
All right. Okay. Well, I need to flick over to my other screen so I can see. So last week my volume was up at 8 hours because you know what, mate? I didn't have the bike.
Yeah.
I didn't have the bike, and I actually took 2 days off.
Yeah.
2 days, because looking back at my running, I hadn't run 4 consecutive days since before GPT Miler. I'd always been doing like 2 on a bike, 3 on a bike. So I hadn't got up to like 4 days consecutive because I was using the bike for the workouts. So 4 days continuous. I knew I was going to get up to a good volume just because of the meetup and being up here in the mountains of Mourne. But then, and we'll come to it because we got some questions. We'll come to what happened in my run, which wasn't perfect.
No.
A total surprise. But anyway, 70K for the week, 8 hours and 2,500 meters of gain. And in terms of workouts, I did one workout last week. I did a 37-minute uphill threshold run at Divis Mountain in Belfast. And we were talking about this earlier, I could have very well got more bang for my buck if I'd done like 3x12 off 2 or something and got up there quicker. Probably would have been 3x10. But it was a segment.
Yeah.
I just wanted to run from the bottom of the hill and touch the trig point at the top. And I'd only run the segment once before, and I was just like, where will I place in this? And there was like 12 people that I knew that was on this. That were on the segment. I see Paul Clark was in the chat, and I could see he was in the segment too. And so I just thought that's going to be the workout.
Yeah.
So I did that, and happy enough with that. This week, I'm going to consider today to be somewhat of a sub-threshold run with you.
Yeah, a great run. And let's say like yesterday you didn't have a great day, right? And your quad kind of fired up on you, and then that put a end, not a complete end, but a bit of an end to that run. And then that would have hit the training week a little bit hard. And I was actually thinking you're going to get up this morning, you're not going to be able to walk, but for some miraculous reason you were okay. And we did a run, and we both ran together, and we did 21k. Great run. We ran around Tollymore, beautiful trails, foresty trails, some like fire road in through the forest trails, down along by the river. It was class. So really enjoyed it. Like for me, that was a brilliant run, you know. And I thought it was like a good steady pace we were running it.
Yeah, it was a good steady effort with plenty of crack.
Yeah,
It was good crack.
Yeah, it was great crack. Yeah.
So give me your stats.
My stats for the week are 110, nearly 111 kilometers. I think 9 hours 45 minutes and 2,300 something meters of climbing. So I'm looking at that as
I beat you on vert.
What'd you get on vert?
248.
Well, like even that's a big increase on my last few weeks, you know. And again, you look at it in the grand scheme of things, we'll say it's another solid 100k plus week. So it keeps my Strava graph where I want it. It also puts me in a great place leading into the next block, which is the Swiss Canyon Trails block, which will be starting within the next week or so. And then it just keeps me at a good base at the end of January. And now I'm starting to get more vert in. And vert equals time, like, you know, so like me getting 2,300 meters and then only doing maybe one mountainous run and then one kind of hilly run, and I'm getting that much vert in 2 runs over 10 hours, I'm happy enough with that week, you know. I feel good, I feel fit, and I feel ready to ramp it up now.
Because like 2,500 meters is probably equivalent to maybe around 3 hours of flatter stuff.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. Definitely.
Give or take.
Yeah. It would. Like even if you looked at yesterday's run had the guts of 2,000 meters in it. It was 28 kilometers, and you're looking at 3 hours for that run. So there you go. And then also on Wednesday, I did a speed session. So it was an 8x1k on, off. The off for me is always because the way I like to run, I like running, I enjoy running.
No shit.
Yeah.
Flat out.
And I don't enjoy a full-on structured workout. And I don't enjoy those sort of workouts where I do a kilometer on and then I rest for 200 meters and then I do another kilometer on. You know, I don't enjoy that workout. And I think as an ultra runner, I get more bang for buck out of on is hard, like race pace, and then my off is steady. You know, where it's not off. It's like I'm doing that kilometer at like a 6 out of 10. You know, that way I'm building huge endurance and I'm enjoying that run a lot more than if I was stopping or if I was doing a little bit of a shuffle for 200 meters and going again or 90 seconds. And then when I'm doing that as well, I'm distracted by my watch and I'm consumed by pace. Whereas in most of those workouts are done off effort. It's not really pace. I'm keeping an eye on the pace, but it's more effort based because again, it's after work. It's a Wednesday evening. My legs are not my Saturday legs. You know, I'm much fresher on a Saturday, and I know that if I had a session planned on a Saturday, I know exactly I'll hit those paces because I'm fresher on a Saturday. On a Wednesday, I am what I am, as Popeye says. You know, so like I'm not worried about pace. I'm worried about effort.
Yeah, and whenever you're doing like that on-off type of effort workout, whenever you drop down to the steady does feel like a rest.
It does, yeah.
And that's the beauty of that. I love the pyramid sessions as well for that type of thing.
Yeah.
Question through in the chat. What do you guys think of the rat race events? I've never heard you guys talk about them. They have 100-mile events now and do the wall at 70 miles. I've not heard of them.
They're in the UK.
Yeah.
For some reason, I think they're semi-obstacle course races. like whoever's asked that in the chat, I don't. Do you see who's asked that?
I don't know the
Yeah, I wonder. I wonder if they could jump in really fast and then just say, is it sort of an obstacle course race within it? Because I have looked at that. It's going back like 5 or 6 years, but they were a thing, you know, and it was bigger distances and then slightly obstacle course racing. If I'm right, that's what they were. But maybe I'm totally wrong, but I think that's what it is. Yeah.
So we probably haven't heard of them.
Mm.
You maybe think you might know what it is.
Yeah, and like at that time, if it is the race that I think it was, that would have been a race that would have excited me because I've done the toughest obstacle course race and some of them tough mothers as well, you know. And they're like,
off, would you?
yeah,
Get out of here. Get out of here. Next you're going to be talking about high rocks.
I'm just telling you. John Alvin, one of the best trail runners in the world, is the OCR world champion. How many times in a row? He's made a clean fortune out of being the best obstacle course runner in the world, you know. And he's become one of the best mountain runners in the world off the back of it.
You know the difference? He never talks about it. Just shut up.
He never talks. He may talk about it.
All right, let's move into our viewer questions. These are questions that were submitted over on Instagram in the last 24 hours. Well, I think we've tackled the first one. What does it feel like to be Irish Trail Runner of the Year? It feels bloody good, does it?
Yeah, it feels great. It feels very, very good. Do you know why it feels good? It's because of the way it was done as well. So it was voted by the public, and then there was some experts in there, and there was other avenues as well to explore. But we'd say it was done by the public too, a lot of it, you know. And I think that's cool. I think that's pretty special, like that the people voted for you, you know. I think there's something very, very cool about that, you know. So thank you everybody and anybody that took the time to go onto the page and hit those buttons and vote for me. So I appreciate it. It means the world to me.
You got the Trail Talk vote. That's got some clout.
Yeah, definitely.
Next one, and I think the next one is well timed after the last thing we were chatting about. What happened? Your run stroke injury, Aaron. All right, so I don't want to labor on this too much, right? Basically, it's an imbalance that I have had for about 3 years.
Yeah, it's not new.
2023, I was living in Chamonix for like basically half of the year, and I did a lot of uphill work, didn't do a lot of flat running, and so actually flat running got quite difficult to adjust to. It took me a few weeks to get used to it if I come back here or went back to London, and I ended up just developing good uphill running strength, but was not developing the posterior chain just as well.
He had no booty.
No booty. Moving forward, after that period, I've been doing my workouts on the bike, which again is targeting the front of the legs, the quads, right?
Yeah.
And also not doing a lot of downhill running. Like I'm only going to the mountains maybe once a week.
Yeah.
Because I'm getting plenty of vert without going to mountains, but I'm not getting the 30-degree descent off the side of Donard. I'm not getting proper mountain descents. I'm getting, half a K at 10%.
Yeah.
That's the type of stuff that I'm on the trails that are close to me. So I've got this imbalance, and it sometimes happens whenever I start to descend steep terrain. If I had done hip bridges and some activations before the run, it wouldn't have happened. But it's the type of thing that happens so infrequently that I totally forget to do the bridges. And as soon as I started to descend from Donard yesterday, I felt the poke in my quad, and by the time I got down to the stile, the leg was sore from the whole length of the quad on the outside. Was just so tight. Like everyone went over the stile, or people were going over the stile, and I went over the stile. I could hardly get my right leg up onto the step. It had started to seize up and stiffen up. So difficult.
Yeah.
I had to basically call the run at that point. I still got 3 hours in, but the last hour was mostly walking down off the mountain, really fucking cold.
Yeah.
But look, shit happens.
Yeah, and then today like I said, you got up, you got your activation work in front of me there. It was a fantastic view, so it was watching him stretch all his ins and outs. And you had a great run today, so that's a positive after yesterday's negative. And as well, look, you put on a brave face yesterday, you know, and that's the main thing.
Yeah, well, nobody wanted to hear me crying about the quad, and I'm glad I didn't have to answer more than 6 of the same question about it. But we've answered it in the podcast,
Yeah.
and now everyone knows I have an imbalance, and sometimes my
But
quad
even
hurts.
even myself would say I have a tweak in my hip, and I put that down to an imbalance too. As in, I've done not a lot of vert, you know, over the last few weeks or months. Even, you know, it was like I went from Chamonix straight into Fontremaux training camp. That was all pretty flat, and it was fast, and there was a lot of turnover. And the thing I felt like I was missing, and I always feel like this. I always feel like when I'm not doing the uphill, I'm not getting that same power, that same drive up, and it takes me a little while to get that back, you know. And I always get that sort of tweak in around my hip area. But the more climbing I do, then that'll eventually just go away, and then I will get stronger, you know, and I can just add more vert in. But that's the key, right? Is adding that vert in slowly. You don't want to just, like anything, too much too soon is worse than anything, you know. So you just got to build it in nice and easy, and it'll all come.
I come back and I'm like building a china shop, and it's just not.
Yeah.
You just can't do it that way. And I honestly think like the length of time that I've been running and training, I've probably never been training perfectly. So I've always been working on one thing to make it better and then another thing to make it better. And you're just like, I just think the balance is off.
Yeah.
So I really do need to prioritize the imbalance rather than the preventative activations.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, it happened at the start of Swiss Alps in 2023, one of the very first times. It's the first time it happened in a race, and luckily it went away from some like stretching.
Yeah.
But look, I need to get it sorted.
Yeah, but that'll lead into another question. There's a question there. What's the biggest training mistake you've made and learned from? And we don't always learn. We're a bit stupid sometimes, and we get complacent. And when things are going good, the strength work usually like takes a step off to the side, you know. And everybody does it. Yeah, I'm telling you, even the elites do it. It's like everything's going good. I don't want to do this. I don't like doing this. No one likes doing those things, but they're the things that prevent you getting the injuries, you know. And you just need to stay on top of them. And again, what I said, too much too soon. Too much too soon to anybody that's just getting into running. That it needs to be drilled into them. I made so many mistakes by running too fast all the time when I first got into running. And man, every ligament, tendon, IT bands, everything was unhappy, and it was sore, and it was like knives sticking into me from left, right, and centre, you know, because I was doing too much too soon. I was running fast all the time, just pushing, and not learning. You need to just back it off a little. You need to listen to your body, and you just need to get used to running easy and doing your hard running hard and your easy days easy.
You just get that with experience.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And like my biggest training mistake, I don't know, biggest? Just lots of small ones.
Yeah.
Just lots of small ones. Like you learn along the way. And we were talking earlier on about coaching, about being self-coached compared to coaching. And I think one of maybe the mistakes or things that I wish I'd done earlier was take the things I had learned from coaches and properly think about applying it myself. Because I'm only now self-coached myself for coming up on a year. It'll be a year in April. And I feel like it's a lot less stressful.
Yeah.
And I'm still doing all the work. I'm still doing the training. I know what I need to do, but I'm not stressing that am I going to be in the right position to do 4x10, 4x8 tomorrow. I'm stressing about what I'm eating the day before, the sleep. Instead, I'm getting up in the morning. How do I feel? Is today the day for the workout? Great.
Yeah.
Do it. Eat light, get it done. And I would have been scared before. Maybe I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
If somebody wasn't telling me to do it. But now I'm a year into actually no, I'm really good at ticking that box of knowing I need to do intensity once to twice a week. I need a long run. I need the rest of it to be easy.
Yeah. And that's it. You're accountable to you, right? At the end of the day, you're accountable to you. You don't need anybody telling you what to do because you have learned from coaches over the years how to do it. And now you're just implying it yourself off how you're feeling. And that's kind of how I train as well. It's all instinctive. And that way, I think you get the best out of yourself doing it that way. You're kind of giving yourself a break. You're giving yourself a rest day when you feel like you need it. But you're just being honest and doing the work when you have to as well. But on that as well, we talked about it when we were running through Toddymore. It's like as runners, we're a little bit like brain dead sometimes, and we forget what we actually do is really hard, right? And running 20 kilometers is hard. It just is hard. But we take stuff
hard
like that.
today.
Yeah, but we take stuff like that all the time for granted. We just expect that, yeah, I'm supposed to be able to run 20k a day or 10k a day or whatever. We just take that for granted, you know. And when it's taken away from us, we're heartbroken and we're nearly depressed over it. But like, there's other people, right, that if they walked 5k, they would be ringing their granny and their granddad and telling them how amazing that was that they walked 5k, you know, because that to them was amazing, like, you know. So remember what you're doing, remember where you started, how you're doing, and where you're going. And like, I think it's just super cool.
Super cool. Remember, I said this to you earlier on. If you want to do big, epic, scary distances, you have to normalize the things that we're doing. So, Ricky, no, 20k's a piece of piss. You know why? Because you want to race 170k as fast as fuck, right? And I want to run the Tour de Jean, and I want to be out there and running races that last for days on end. Therefore, I have to get myself in the position where 170k is not far.
Yeah,
totally. You have to reframe it. Look at Brian Mullins, previous guest on the podcast, second at Tour de Glaciers, 450k. If you seen his calendar last year, this coming year, you would literally shit yourself. Like 500k race, 400k race, 300k, just like back to back to back. We're not talking back to back months. Like going in from Eiger into like another miler into, you know, PTL to Tour de Jean to Swiss Peaks. Like stacking these, and it's because of mindset. Like, yes, he's physically capable. But if you're physically capable and mentally incapable, you can't do it. Like, he believes that he can do it. And I think he said on the podcast something along the lines of, and I'm totally butchering it, but it was basically that he is, I was forgetting my train of thought there, but he was basically saying something that I can't remember, so I'll have to come back to it. But he's doing these races and he's thinking that I'm just out there spending time doing what I enjoy. What would be better than going out into the mountains for 5 days and looking after myself, and I'm going through huts and aid stations.
He's reframing it into something that he wants to
It's
do.
almost like the longer it is, the better.
Yeah.
Like, that's even better value for money.
Yeah. But that's how I think of. This is why I got into the 100k races and not the 5k races, because you get more bang for your buck. I think if you need to be a really good 5k or 10k runner, you need to run the same volume that, you know, that we're running. You need to run that volume. But then when you go and race, your race is only like 17 minutes or less, you know what I mean? It's like 15 minutes, 16 minutes, whatever for a 5k. I remember doing one of my first races. I was over doing the maxi race, Solomon maxi race, 85k. It was probably the longest race I ever did at the time. I was out for 10 hours at this time. I actually stopped, looked around, sun shining, getting scalded with sunburn. Beautiful day, you know what I mean? And I looked and I says, man, I've been out for like 10 hours. How cool is this? You know, it was like I'm getting more bang from my buck.
Were you doing the trail runner maths in your head? Like, how much is this per K?
Yeah, you know, and that's what I got out of it. Like, I felt like, well, I'm putting in the work, but I'm getting something out of it. Like, you're getting that experience out of the races. And Brian Mullins is no different. He wants that experience. He wants to get that out of those races, you know?
Yeah.
But take nothing away from running the 10Ks or the 20Ks or whatever you can every day, right, to get fit. Don't be afraid to tell yourself you're great every now and again and you're doing great. And that'll keep you going, keep you motivated and get you through another training block so that you can do these 100K and 200K races one day, you know?
Oh, you can't just go, I'm reframing what a miler is.
Yeah.
I can do that now. No, you have to build up to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to build up to it, but you also have to be able to make those mental steps alongside that training.
Yeah.
All right, pick a question. I got some stuff to read in the chat. And Jay said that, oh, Jay, thanks very much. Jay thinks that I cut the run short so I could get back down to O'Hare's for a creamy pint. And shout out to Gary Harkin, who bought me a pint upon arrival. Another question in the chat. Which one is more prestigious accomplishment? Is it Ultra or Ironman? This is Trail Talk, the Global Ultra Trail podcast. It's not Ironman.
Yeah, there's one there. I like that one. It's where am I going? Yeah, what keeps you moving in the pain cave? You know, this is a funny question because.
Will you go first?
Yeah. So like for me, it's like the pain cave, right? Everyone talks about the pain cave, and I've talked about this before, so maybe I'm repeating myself, but I have no problem repeating myself. But the pain cave, everyone talks about it, and like if you're a fan of David Goggins or you know who David Goggins is, you'll understand what he's talking about when he's talking about the pain cave. You know, who's going to carry the boats and all this stuff, right? But that question is sort of saying, what keeps you moving in the pain cave? Well, if I've trained properly, going into, let's say, Swiss Canyon Trail, and I've done my work and I've done everything to the best of my ability in that training block, well then that pain cave shouldn't be 110 kilometers. That pain cave should be a very small percentage of that race towards the end of that race. So provided that I don't shoot off too fast and get my pacing all wrong and make a hash of the race, providing I do all those things right, the pain cave should only come in the last 20%, maybe even 15% of that race, because I have conditioned my body to be able to run as fast as I wanted to run over that distance without being in the pain cave for too long. If I'm in the pain cave for half that race or 75% of that
something's
race,
gone wrong.
Yeah, it's all, I've made a total mess of that race, or I definitely haven't done the work in training. So I don't expect to be in the pain cave for too long.
So what keeps you moving in the pain cave? Well, you can also go into the pain cave for several reasons, right? But how deep is the pain cave?
Yeah.
Might be how long you've ignored the warning signals.
Yeah.
Like, how long have you gone without the gel, the drinking? Like, it's like, here's an example. It was cold yesterday. How much did you drink?
Nothing. Yeah, nothing. Not at all.
How long was the run?
3 hours. Yeah, nothing. And I had 2 gels. And that's because I'm not very good in the cold, right? And it's another reason why I wouldn't do a race like the Spine, because I know that that's a race where I would forget to drink and forget to eat because I don't like the cold and I don't like those conditions. Like, they're brutal conditions, you know. And I know that I probably need someone on my case telling me, like Emily, did you drink? Did you take your gels? But another good example would be Mallorca this year. Mallorca in November in 2025 did not go the way I expected, right? Was going really well, and then an injury popped up. It was the hip. It was flared up, and it was giving me a lot of aggro for a long, long time. I'd say I was 6 hours in pain with that hip. And then it's like, what keeps you moving in the pain cave then? Well, number one, I do not want a DNF, right? I just don't want a DNF. If I can move, I'm going to keep moving, right? So I don't want to DNF. But also, I wanted my stones because I wanted more stones for the UTMB lottery. So I was like thinking, if I can move, and I know I'm not making it any worse, these are things you have to take into consideration. I knew it was sore, but I knew it wasn't going to get any worse. I just couldn't move the way I wanted to move. So I knew I could finish the race. So I'm not going to DNF, and I want my stones. So those are 2 things that keep you driving forward. They're little things, and they just keep you going, and they get you to the finish line. And that's all you need, is your brain to tell you, you need to finish this, you know?
Yeah, sometimes it's the motivation. Like, on that run today, some of it was a little bit more intense than what I would want to normally be doing. But we were running up that hill at the back of Tullymore, and we were chatting away 100 mile an hour, and the heart rate was creeping up, but the conversation was definitely a distraction to the intensity.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, so you have to lean into the things that motivate you and distract you.
Distract you, yeah.
You know, if it's night running, maybe it's some music. If it's tiredness in the night, maybe you do a double caffeine.
Yeah.
You know, you also have to think, when was the last time I took salt?
Yeah.
Like, how much am I consuming salt-wise? How much fluids am I consuming? So just have like a mental checklist and run through it. And that in itself can be a distraction.
Yeah.
Question in the chat from Josh. Too much too soon. I've been doing 100k, 1800 meters in the base block. Is it reasonable to increase to 160k and 4000 meters plus gradually for Swiss Canyon Trail? And Josh is running the 111k in the hotly anticipated Trail Talk community race.
Like he said it at the end of that question, gradually is where you want to be, right? So it's like that 10% rule. So don't add any more than 10%. If you're at 100k now and then you're starting this, so this is you're only at the start of your block, 10% of 100 is 10. You won't be long till you get to 160k, right? But it's like, all right, when you get to 160k, where in the block do you want to be hitting that? I would say you want to be kind of hitting that, you know, maybe 5 weeks out from Swiss Canyon Trails, at the latest 4 weeks out, and then you start to come down again into your taper. You might need to be at 160 kilometers a week for 6 weeks. You might only need to be peaking at 160 kilometers for 2 weeks in a row, you know, going up to that 110, 120, 130, 140, 150, 160, 160, come back down again. You know, that to me would be the perfect, number one, Strava graph, but it would also be the perfect way for your body to adapt and to recover and to be fresh come race day.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like, you could get that 160 in the next month.
Yeah.
With not with too much risk as well, but you'd perfectly curate that Strava graph.
Yeah.
Up into a lovely pyramid, and just be increasing the volume at a lovely rate.
Yeah.
Based on that race, like the race is 4 months out.
Yeah.
Now, so like, Josh is sitting in a very, very tasty spot.
It's perfect. Like, it's perfect. I'm in a similar spot myself, Josh. The exact same. That's exactly how I'm going to approach over the next few weeks. And I'm not going to change a whole pile. It'll still be those key sessions in the block every week. And it'll just be gradually, you'll see the vert go up, you'll see the kilometers go up, and you'll see the time go up. And it'll just be all nice and gradual, so that your body is doing everything it can to cope with the load that you're giving it. Because, look, let's be straight, 160 kilometers is a tight load, you know, especially for, let's say, a non-professional runner that has a job, you know, 9 to 5 or whatever. That's a lot of running.
Yeah. Here's a Ricki Wynne favourite. Are you ready for it? Will Ricki try a backyard ultra? The Helivation one surely suits him. What is the Helivation backyard ultra? Start off with that one.
I think the Helivation one, if I'm right in saying, is I don't think it's a standard loop. I don't think it's the standard.
It must be. Well, it's obviously hill because there's elevation.
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of elevation in it. There's a lot. Like, I can't remember exactly the numbers on it, but I've seen like where somebody that's won it has got nearly, you know, 7 or 8 and maybe 9,000 meters of elevation in it. Like, so there's huge vert in each loop, and I don't know if I'm right in saying that each loop is 4 point something kilometers long. It's not the standard one, or maybe I'm wrong, but I know the race, right? I know the race they're talking about, and my answer to that question is still no. Because again, I don't want to ever disrespect anyone, because look, some people love that format. I'm just not a massive fan of that format. I don't like the idea of stopping every 4 kilometers and having to wait and to go again. It's just not a format that excites me. To me, it doesn't feel like racing. There's a lot more tactics involved. There's a lot more strategy involved, and then there's a lot. I just think you end up taking the racing out of it, and other things are more important than the racing. And for me, look, I'm a racer. That's the way I look at myself. I like running from A to B as fast as I can. You know, not let's stay out here for as long as we can. I'm trying to finish races as fast as I can. That's the best way I can answer that question.
Yeah.
Would you like? Is that something that you'd have any interest in doing?
No,
Yeah.
because like we were chatting about this the other day, and you only have so many opportunities in the year to spend your fitness, and the other times of the year you're banking fitness.
Yeah.
So to spend it on something that's essentially a non-competitive event is a waste of time.
Yeah.
And time is the most precious commodity we have.
Yeah.
So I want to race 2, 3, 4 times in the year, and I want at least 2 of them to be um, flyaway races, big, high-profile races with good competition.
Yeah.
At an iconic course, or something that's unique or interesting about the course, whether it be experiencing a new mountain range or something like that.
Yeah.
So again, those are my motivations. But somebody like, there's people that will have the motivation for how many times can I run this loop?
Yeah.
And that's cool as well, but it's not for me.
Like Elevation there, I think I know I'm right in saying that the winner of that race, probably the last couple of years in a row, is a guy called Wayne McGuigan, who'd be very good friends with Ronan. And Ronan crews him a lot as well and helps him out a lot. And Wayne is so good at that. Like, that is his wheelhouse. Do you know what I mean? He's very, very good at that. And that's not, I'm not saying Wayne couldn't do the races that I do, but that's his strong. That's where he's very strong, and he's very, very good at that style of running. Same as Keith Russell. They're, by no means is he not a fast runner. He is, but it's just that is another strong race, strong way of running for him, and that's what they're very good at, you know. And that's their niche, is fitted to that style, and that's why they're so good at it, and that's why they love it. And it's the same for me. It's like I love the other stuff because a lot of those traits that I want, I'm strong at, you know, and they're what bring me to other races that are like that are more fitting to my style of running.
Yeah. I would totally be into doing like a training event that was maybe one of these things, like they're almost like a last person standing event where, you're doing reps of a hill, and it's who gets the most vert in 24 hours.
Yeah.
So you're able to train like the nutrition, the muscular endurance, and it's not like it doesn't have a sleep deprivation component to it, because it's like who can do the most in 24 hours.
Yeah.
And you're looking at as a big training stimulus.
Yeah. On that one, right? The only I've done one similar to Last Man Standing, but it was a slightly different format. It was 10 loops of like it was like an obstacle course with 10 loops in it, and it was in a football field, and then you went into a field, and you were jumping across bales of hay and running through rivers, and there's other things in the way as well. But there was a lot of running, and it was all run. You did 9 loops, right? And it was all about managing yourself for those 9 loops. And then the 10th loop was whoever was left standing. Then it was a race. So I thought that was cool because that meant that every man had to mind themselves for 9 laps. And then you were left with the best guys at the end. And then it was like, that is it. The 10th lap is the final.
Right.
And winner takes all. And I think there was €500 prize money, you know. And that, I thought, I enjoyed that format, you know, because then number 10 is a full-on race, and that kind of suited somebody like me that was better at the endurance, you know, so I could like drag them along, make them kind of do what I wanted them to do for 9 laps, and then go on the 10th, you know.
Did you win?
I did win, yeah.
There you go. A lot of these stories end like that.
That's why they're good stories.
Next question. When's the spring and summer Mournes meeting planned? Well, there is none, because we will be off doing other adventures and things. The next meeting is obviously at the Swiss Canyon Trail at the end of May.
Yeah.
And then the next Trail Talk meetup anywhere we will do a meetup in Chamonix during UTMB week in August. And then we will be back in Mourne in November.
Nice.
Yeah. So
Put it in the calendar.
Yeah.
November. Book it out. Whatever you've got on, cancel it.
get a pass from the wife, whatever it is you need to do.
Or the husband.
Yeah. The middle of November is when it'll be, and I will actually confirm the date in the next month or two, because we're going to be back over for a wedding, so we already know the date.
Yeah.
You heard it here first. Ricki, how were you layered up? People were very concerned about what you were wearing for the group run on Sunday, because it was like, feels like -5 was in the forecast. It didn't seem as bad, although it was very wet early on. But there was one particular bit of gear that you had that was unique and special. What were they?
Yeah, so, and I'd be the first person to say, I wear shorts every day, nearly to work every day of the year for years, right? So my legs don't get cold. But these little things here, these hands that I'm holding up, when they get cold, I completely shut down, you know. So I think people don't talk about, oh, it's because your core isn't warm and this, that, and the other. No, it's because my hands are cold. It's nothing to do with my core. My hands are freezing. I'm roasting. My belly's roasting. My ribs are roasting. They're like a radiator. Sometimes I actually put my hands on my ribs because they're like a radiator because there's heat coming off me. But my hands are freezing. So this year, I was rummaging around my room and I found a pair of sealskin's heated gloves. And they were brilliant. They were brilliant for that training run. I definitely would not be racing in them because they weigh a lot. They're very, very heavy. But man, they were brilliant, you know. So like it was pissing rain at the start. So I was drowned, wet through, soaked to the bone. So, and then up near the top, there was snow in some spots, and it was actually like snowing at one time as well. And the wind was cold. It was, the Mournes are very strange. The Mournes are like a microclimate, you know. You come up and you have Comida. Comida is its own microclimate. One side of it is freezing cold. The other side of it is wild windy. It'll cut the head off you. And then the other side, you want to take 4 layers off because it's roasting. It's a very strange mountain, like. So the gloves were perfect. I was able to press a little button 3 times, and like the heated seats in your car should be roasting. Dial it down a notch. Dial it down a notch. Turn them off. Take them off. Put them back on. Dial them up a notch. They were brilliant.
I can't believe that you were wearing this type of technology. Have you? I feel like that they're like pretty special bit of kit.
Yeah.
Have you ever have you worn them?
No, yesterday was the first time I ever.
They're bulky. They were.
Yeah, they are bulky. They're like a very big, like I want to say, Arctic mate.
And how long does the charge last?
Yeah, so the battery is in the collar, like let's say in the cuff, and the cuff is elasticated, and you can cinch it down, and that keeps it more watertight, right? But they're waterproof gloves, obviously, as well. And then the battery goes into the cuff, and there's a zip that's waterproof. And those batteries, there's one in each glove. Those batteries, they charge together like a double charger. You know, put them in USB charger. 5.5 hours runtime, which I think is pretty impressive. But as a glove in itself, it's a warm glove. It's got like 5-layer technology in it, right? It's got the outer and it's got the inner. Then it's got Primaloft insulation, and it's got another like it's got Primaloft insulation, and it's got a gold insulation in it. So it's got 5 layers in it. So it's a really, really good waterproof glove with this technology called fusion control in it. And the fusion control means that when you have that glove on, as bulky as it is, you have very good dexterity in your fingers. You know, your fingers are moving around freely inside the glove, so that your hands are still able to breathe and able to move around, which is what fusion control is all about. Well, yeah, great bit of kit.
Jay in the chat says that your gloves could have summited Everest.
Yeah, they could.
I wonder what the weather rating is. That would be good to know. And also, I see Gary in the chat saying November. Yeah, Gary, you're on the long run in November. You've been forewarned. The training camp starts in September.
Yeah.
And right, next question. Well, actually, a good segue from the gloves. What's your approach to training through winter conditions? What winter conditions? What, like, you can't not train. Yeah. You just have to if you've got training, it doesn't really matter what the weather is.
No, look, there's nothing. I said this before. Like, there's nothing glamorous about winter training. Winter training is just getting shit done. That's what it is. It's winter in Ireland and in the UK is dark and wet and miserable. And there's nothing fun about it, and there's nothing sexy about it, and there's nothing glamorous about it. So it's actually a test of more like mental strength than anything, because you have to get yourself to go out the door. You have to put the shoes on and go out into the dark every night or every evening with a head torch on you. But also, like, a bit that gets me through is that when I'm out, especially around where I live, like, it's quiet, right? I go on my like, say it's a greenway, right? I go on that greenway in the summer. It's full of people. It's packed with people. They're out walking their dogs. They're running. They're cycling. They're everything. In the winter, there is nobody on it. I own that trail. That is mine. It's Ricki Wynne's greenway. Nobody else has anything to do with it from October to February. It's mine. And that makes me feel like I'm superhuman, because nobody else is here. Nobody else is doing what I'm doing. I'm the only one putting this work in. Obviously, I know there's tons and tons and maybe millions of people doing what I'm doing right now. But here, in the now, I'm the only one doing this. And that builds massive character.
Well, I'll counter that and say, while you're freezing your balls off on the greenway, I and some of our viewers and listeners will know, because I get these comments on Strava and on some of the socials. Whenever I go out and I run at 1 and 2 o'clock in the day in like 32 to 34 degrees,
Poor Aaron.
and they're like, "You're crazy. What are you doing?" I'm like, I feel lucky. This is great training, and all I have to do is like pick clothes that's good in this.
Yeah.
And
Not wear too much clothes.
yeah.
I'm trying to, like, is there any way of me not having to put on 50 layers? I have to run in 50 layers of clothes in the winter because it's so cold. So you look at, like, so for you need to worry about, oh yeah, I need to put sun cream on, not get scalded, maybe bring me sunglasses, and yeah, will it run with sleeves or sleeveless? That's your biggest problem.
No, never with sleeves.
Yeah.
Mate, the most tan man in Ireland right now. I ain't wearing sleeves, and I'm only putting sunscreen on my nose.
Put them on your ears.
It doesn't tan. I get a red nose. Everything else tans. So, but that wasn't a wintry question answer. So, please forgive me. How do you balance? And we gotta wrap this up.
Yeah.
This will be our last question. So, thanks for sticking with us. If you want to replay it, you know where to do it. Search Trail Talk wherever you do searching. We are not biased to any particular platform. You can catch us there. Leave us a review. 5 stars only, please.
5.
And next week we're back doing the remote thing from southern and northern hemispheres, and we're into another month. We've got some really cool guests coming on the show in February once I get back to Sydney, so stick around for that. Jump into the Trail Talk WhatsApp if you've got a question, if you've got a comment, if you've got our Mount the Coast H1's true to size, put it in the WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Our Gore Concurve jacket's a slim fit. Put it in the WhatsApp.
Have you a discount code for Curve Concord jackets? Put it in the chat.
Yes, it's in the WhatsApp. That's where you get everything that's good and useful. So jump in there. Link is in the bio. Last question of the show is, how do you balance your weekly mileage with vertical gain in your training?
Kind of similar to the Josh question, really, So for me, I don't write out and down. I don't have a massive structure in my training. I know what I need to do in my week, and I know what I need to do in my weeks into a training block. So I always have a number in my head that I want to hit. I always have a time in my head that I want to get, and I always have a certain amount of elevation that I'd like to get as well. And I try my damnedest every week to hit those numbers, give or take a few Ks or a few meters here or there, but I always try and be consistent, because I think that is the main thing. Overall, the most important thing is be consistent, like, you want your weeks to all kind of just be looking the same, no big drop-offs, no huge spikes, all pretty consistent. Get that Strava graph nice and sexy looking, Because as good as it looks and as happy as I am looking at, that's proper training when it's going in that trajectory, where it's not going up and down like the graph you'd see at your next mountain race. It doesn't need to be like up and down, little high spikes and low spikes. That's no good. You need it being consistent and consistent going one way.
But how do you like? One thing I would kind of like to ask is, how do you think about like vert per week based on the goal race? So let's look at Swift Canyon Trail, which is how many? What is the vert?
6,000, I think, in the
110.
110k. Yeah.
Yeah. So how would you slice that up in terms of what you want to get during the week? Because a lot of people would have at one point thought, I want to get the vert of the race in a week's worth of training.
Yeah.
But that doesn't scale.
No, and you can't do that every week. You can't, because to run, if you're trying to get 6,000 meters of vert in a week, that could take you 25 hours, 30 hours to get that, you know?
Leo Boyle would do it.
Yeah. But for me, the way I'd approach that is I would like to be hitting sort of like 3,500 to 4,000 meters, you know? Like on a consistent basis. And then at my peak weeks training, I'd like to be closer to that, maybe 6,000. So maybe like 5,000, 5,500, you know, where it's closer to that. But then you see what you've done there in that training block. You add up all those meters of elevation that you got you've gone from 2,000 all the way up week after week, building, all the way up to that 5,500 to maybe 6,000. You have accumulated so many meters, like thousands and thousands and thousands of meters. And that is what's going to get you through that one race with 6,000 meters.
Because it's a bit like to train for a road marathon, you don't go out and smash 26.2 every week in your long run.
Yeah.
So you're not trying to hit 6,000, 7,000 meters a week of vert if that's what your goal race has.
Yeah. Another way that you could like get your head around it is, like, let's say somebody wants to do a marathon, right? And if they were a beginner, I'd be saying, well, you need to run a marathon in a week in your training. You know, that's kind of like a simple way of looking at it. Well, if you're training for a 42-kilometer race, and you need to be able to run at least 42 kilometers in a week, you know, and then you need to be able to do that week in, week out, and then add more to it every week. And it's similar if you signed up for a 100k race. I'd like to tell you, and I don't want to scare you, but the closer you can get to that 100 kilometers in your week, the more able you'll be to do that 100k, you know. And then the better you want to perform at that 100k, then it's all about increasing vert, so that specificity comes into it then. And then the more specific you can get in your training to mimic that race, the better you will do in that race.
I've never actually thought about you're racing 100k, you got to be thinking about getting 100Ks per week. That's just actually using the same formula and I'm putting it into the distance thing.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
No, that's interesting. It's not scalable,
Mm.
but it's useful
Yeah.
It's useful as a yardstick.
Yeah.
To a certain point.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and like that's me looking at it for performance, right? That's me. How do I get the best race out of me? And that's the way I looked at it. Yeah.
Doesn't fucking matter.
Doesn't matter. Keep showing up.
All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Leave us a review. Go, Ricki. Trail Run of the Year. Thanks for joining us. Hope you have a great week. Happy running. See you next time.
Peace.
Peace.